Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another episode of my 2020 garden. So I'm standing in an empty greenhouse. And the reason I'm standing in an empty greenhouse is because it was 20 degrees last night. 20 degrees Fahrenheit. Ridiculously cold for this time of year. Normally this time of year, everything goes in the greenhouse at night and everything comes out during the day. And I have no problems with anything. But this year, thank God I'm working from home because I would never be able to keep up with this if I wasn't at home. But as gardeners, we must carry on. And I promised you a garden tour, so I'm going to give you a garden tour. Here we go. This is gonna be my garden tour. It has been so cold here, I had to bring everything in. And I'm gonna take all these outside now because the greenhouse is warm enough to put them outside. But I am just, as a gardener, I'm very, very frustrated because normally at this time of the year, this is May 9th, I'm able to bring all these plants outside during the day, and then at night I put them back in the greenhouse and they can stay in the greenhouse overnight. But not this year. So I've got everything here on my dining room table. You can see the peppers are doing really well. These are ground cherries. Over here I have flowers, nasturtiums, and morning glories. I've got some herbs over there. More herbs here. I just can't put them in the garden yet. This is more flowers here. Zinnias. Rudbeckia here. This is called bunny-tail grass. It gets these cute little poofies on the end of them. This is a grandiflora mix. I've got marigolds here and calendula over here. And then my tomatoes. Now my tomatoes are getting pretty leggy, but I think we'll bury them pretty deep. But yeah, they're all pretty happy. This weekend I also need to fertilize everything because I've been trying to fertilize every 2 weeks. And some of these tomatoes will probably have to be transplanted into bigger pots because they are several weeks away from going out. So on my kitchen table, it was so cold, I even brought my pansies and my geraniums in. Both of those can take a frost, but we had a freeze, so I brought them in. These flowers are called 4 o'clocks. I have some pak choi here, kale, more herbs. This is my chicory and cilantro. I just have not planted them yet because it's been so cold. So out here in the garden, I planted my lettuce and it's just not growing because it's so cold. In this pot, these are my overwintered onions. They were onions that had sprouted, the ones that I had in storage, and I put them in this pot and they seem to survive the night okay. So my lovage, you can see this lovage. Lovage tastes and smells like celery, like the tops of celery, only it's a little more intense. And it's a very cold tolerant vegetable, but it did not do very well. You can see a lot of the cellular structure on the stems is broken down, and so they've fallen over. So here you can see I have potatoes coming up. They were covered last night. I put this pot over the top of them. And these are the blue potatoes. Blue potatoes grow faster than the white potatoes, so I'm not surprised that they're first up. But yeah, they were covered last night. I don't know if I had to, but I covered my rhubarb. And I just wasn't sure if it could survive 20 degrees. I just didn't know if it could. So I just had that blue tarp that's there, I just had that over. I also covered my winter sowing, just to be safe. And a lot of these, like the cabbages, should be able to go in the ground, but it's just too cold. I just don't know if they will survive. My peas I ended up covering with this, and they came through the night okay. My onions, however, you can't see it, but they are looking pretty sad in there. I'm hoping that's just a transplant shock. My spinach was covered. Even though it can take a frost, I do not know if it could take a hard freeze. And that's what we had last night, so I covered it. These are radishes. These I started from seed in March and then transplanted them in there. And these are French breakfast radishes that I planted in the ground at the same time. They're coming up. These have hardly had any growth at all. It's just been so cold, they haven't even grown. And radishes like cold weather, so I don't know what's going on. This is tarragon here. This is a perennial in my zone. Very hardy. Looks like it came through last night like a champ. This is sage. I thought this had died. This again is a perennial in my zone, but it looks really good. It's starting to come back. All my flowers survived the night just fine. What do you think, Macy? Along with my chives and this elecampane. Survived just fine. Oh, these flowers, by the way, are yarrow, and I just absolutely love them. This winter is the first year that my oregano survived, and it's coming back very nicely. And also my thyme. This is a common thyme, and it has come back as well. So my peas are not doing as well as I would like. You can see the little purple tinges on the leaves. Can you see that? There are quite a few vegetables that turn purple when they get cold. But you can even see, like, these tendrils are all dried up. So they have had a pretty hard time of it. So over here underneath my ash tree, I've got several kinds of mint. One of these is just a spearmint, and I believe this is a mojito mint. I just absolutely love mint. I love growing it. And it spreads, which is fine under here. And this, oh, I'm gonna be in your light here. Let's go this way. This is chocolate mint. If you've never smelled chocolate mint before, you need to grow it. It's just heavenly, just really heavenly. Once this lid starts opening up on my greenhouse, that's how I know it's over 72 degrees in here. So I can start to bring all my warm weather vegetables outside. Okay, so I got everything in here. Each one of these flats is a trip outside. So tomatoes are looking really good. Like I said earlier, they're a little leggy. You can see here, this is cold damage. but none of the new leaves have it on them. So if it were a disease, it will continue up to the new leaves. Something that did not do very well is my cotton. I've grown this before. I don't actually get cotton from it, but it is just the loveliest flower and the most loveliest plant. And I put them in the garage one night when it was really cold, and they just got so damaged. And I can see now, you see that right there? They're just starting to grow again. It's like they grew like crazy and then stopped. More tomatoes here. One thing I've noticed about these hybrid tomatoes is they smell funny. You know how tomatoes smell? For gardeners, there's like no better smell than tomato plants. They just smell funny. I don't know how to describe it. Peppers, some are doing really well. You can tell the difference between a sweet pepper and a hot pepper. Hot peppers grow a lot slower. Even though these are a habanada, they don't have the heat, but they are an offshoot of a hot pepper. Some are doing really well, like this pepper here and this pepper here, sown exactly at the same time, received the same exact treatment, same fertilizing, everything. This one is way behind that one. And sometimes you just get bad genes. There's all my flowers, my decorative grasses, marigolds I keep in the greenhouse during the day, ground cherries, and more of these 4 o'clocks. They stay in the greenhouse during the day. If we would get above, like if we would be 60, what are you doing there, Ellie? If the temperature would be 60 outside, I would put them out, but it's not. It's 40 something outside. So these are my morning glories. They really need to get up a trellis. Nasturtiums, more morning glories, a couple tomatoes that I need to transplant. These are some more tomato flower seeds that were very old, so I tried them. The ones that did well are the Nicotiana, but the rest of them didn't do very well. So these go outside every day, no matter how cold it is out. They're all cold loving, not cold loving, but peas like the cold weather. Cold tolerant kale, pak choy, my herbs over there. Here I've got some herbs, sage, curly parsley, thyme. The thyme could actually probably go in the ground. And the sage, both cold tolerant. Over here, flat leaf parsley. Flat leaf parsley is gonna have to wait. This is, the tall stuff is summer savory. And these in the front row here are hyssop. And then this is, again, some parsleys, some thyme. This here is chamomile. They all do very well outside, even in the cooler days. Then my flowers looking pretty. I would love to put those in a pot, but I just don't trust our nights. And my rosemary. I bring that in the greenhouse every night. Last night I put it in the garage. Because over here, this is what happens if your rosemary gets a freeze. It dies. Another thing I wanted to show you is the seed starts I did last weekend. Right here is cucumbers in this first flat. You can see that some are germinating better than others, But if I get at least one of everything, I'll be doing well. This next flat is the squashes. And again, some are doing better than others. And then in this flat is watermelons and cantaloupes. And they are all doing very well. So I put them, they've been downstairs on heat mats under lights. And so I put them, you can see there's another shelf up above here. I put them on the second shelf, and then I'll rotate these halfway throughout the day so they get some sunlight through the greenhouse. They will go back inside at night. These are definitely warm weather vegetables, along with the tomatoes and the peppers and my flowers. So they will not stay out here. And since it's only like 42 degrees outside, I think it's supposed to get in the low 50s today, but right now it's 42. I will close the door for the greenhouse and watch the temperature to keep it right around 75, 80 degrees. Once it starts getting warm in here, then I will open up the door and let some of the cooler air in. So that's pretty much going to do it for this episode. Unfortunately, I don't have much of a garden tour to give you because it's just been so cold. But I think that I am not the only one dealing with this in this country right now. I've noticed even over in England it's been very cold. I noticed the south is very warm, the west is very warm, but here in the mid-United States we are very cold. So I just pray, hope and pray that by Memorial Day weekend, we will be back to normal temperatures because I really need to get some of this stuff in the ground. So thank you so much for watching this episode of Sharon's Home and Garden. If you like what you saw here, don't forget to click on that subscribe button and or give me a thumbs up. And until next time, happy gardening, everybody. Bye-bye.